Moray V'Rabotai, B'ez Hashem Mincha is going to be at 6 p.m. Please be on time. Chacham Ovadia discusses what's brought down in several of the poskim, if we are allowed to trust doctors that are on the one hand Jewish, but they themselves are Mehalel Shabbat. So in a certain sense, there's a little bit of a drawback in that, because at least a non-Jew, he doesn't have to keep Shabbat. But a Jew who's required to keep Shabbat, who doesn't keep Shabbat, it could be it's very different. And really there are some authorities that write that because the people in Am Yisrael don't necessarily, especially in those times, the Tiferet said about 150 years ago, wrote that he saw from his experience that Jewish doctors that were Mehalel Shabbat, that weren't keeping Shabbat, were much more lenient in telling people not to fast and to break Shabbat, and then what's considered dangerous and what's not considered dangerous, than even the non-Jews would be. And therefore he said in his times that it wasn't so simple to rely on those people. Chacham Ovadia brings the Maaseh, Halacha le Maaseh, he says as follows, he says, look, a lot of times the doctors are very sincere, they happen to not know much about Shabbat. And even though they're Be'emet Jewish and they are required to keep Shabbat, of course, but they don't know the severity of the inyan, so they're tinok shenishba, but they still want to be fair and impartial, and if they say something is dangerous, and they are very trustworthy people in general, you're allowed to rely on that. And therefore, halacha le ma'aseh, if you could tell that the doctor really does care to get things right, and is not trying to flippantly just ignore the religion and doesn't respect the rules of the Torah in general, is trying to play by the book and play things correctly, so one would be allowed to rely on a Jewish doctor, even though he himself doesn't keep Shabbat, to state that this particular situation is a situation of danger. And certainly, as we discussed before, a non-Jewish doctor is also believed to state, again, if you could sense that the person is really sincere and doing his job properly and is professional, you could trust when he says something is dangerous, you're allowed to rely on that, and based on that decision, based on that professional opinion, you can go and be Mehalel Shabbat. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen. Amen.